In honor of Disclosure Day, I pulled one of the shows from the archives. This was about 5 years ago, and it was recorded on a live show, local station. It has all the quirks that go with that, the phone issues. That's what makes it fun. You never know what's going to happen, and you have to be on your toes. But we're talking UFOs, and my guest is JM DeBord. He's a dream interpreter.
Okay, you need to understand that the dream is a story, and you start there, and you start analyzing the story, and you look at the things that are present in the story. Look at the setting. What does the setting say about a story?
Percolate on a particular mix of odd and inspiring news headlines in Wendy's Coffee House. Newsmakers with a penchant for the unknown, unexplained, and unusual share their experiences with UFOs, ghost encounters, near-death experiences, and more for your own unique blend of Wendy's Coffee House Curious. And now, here's Wendy.
Oh, yeah. It's the weekend. Still. Hope you're having a good one. And Wonder Woman saved it, by the way. Dynamite performance. They weren't sure if, a female could haul in the bucks like the guys do, the Wonder Men. But sure enough, she did. And when I saw the preview for this, what was it, a year ago or one, I thought, finally, Wonder Woman gets a fair shake. Anyway, I have to go see it, so I can't give a full detailed analysis yet. But the fun stuff over the weekend, there is a new addition to Roswell. A new, well, maybe an old witness, but an unknown and undisclosed piece of evidence is now coming to light, and a new book out, and it's the 70th anniversary of Roswell. And that big, hullabaloo starts at the end of the month. June 29th. I think here it is. June 29th through July 2nd is the whole event calendar for the Roswell. I like it. It kicks off with the Mexican food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yay! Okay, then you're in the Southwest. But there's a ton of stuff going on. I've got to see if I can get the guy who wrote the book. But the usual Kathleen Martin, she's the one who has the Betty and Barney Hill story, the UFO story. They're going to be there, or she's going to be there, talking about them. And I've actually interviewed her before, too. Good interview. First time I saw her at an event here in Kansas City, I was really this is something that I've seen, and I've only been to 2 or 3 of these things, so I'm not an authority. But when she was first doing these kinds of events, there was a look about her that was still, just that there's a look, and if you ever go, you'll see that some of these people who've had experiences just continue to have this almost like being startled. I think she's more comfortable now, but it was just that thing of it really rocks your world. The things that you think are real are so much less interesting than when something like this happens. So anyway, Kathleen Martin, she's a good one to talk to, and also had some experiences with that. A lot of paranormal activity happens once you've had a UFO sighting or encounter. It makes things seem incredibly fantastic and unbelievable and mind-boggling, and it's tough to share it with other people who haven't had one. I had an appointment with a dermatologist here in town, and back when he was a teenager in the middle of Nebraska, it was like 2 different sightings that he talked about and said, this stuff's been going on for a long time, and just to encounter somebody in your normal day-to-day life who says, oh yeah, I saw one too, and I'm encountering more of them because the more I talk about it, the more I realize, hey, a lot of people have UFOs in their closet. All right, this is the fun stuff. If you're going to go on a road trip, Bowman, South Carolina UFO Welcome Center, and you can check it out on Roadside America. But this is Jody Pendarvis has these 2 UFOs. It's a double-decker flying saucer beside his trailer. And he's been working on this for a long time. And apparently he had another one. He was putting another display together here. And that one isn't going quite as fast. But the 2 original saucers are still there, and you can go check them out. Unfortunately, according to a recent post, somebody updated it and said he has been vandalized. Somebody took his flat screen TV. That was really, and he put the sign out front to post it so everybody knew that somebody took the flat screen TV. Apparently, a human is the culprit. That's not fair. That's not fair. But they say it's really, it's kind of a little place to stop if you're interested in UFOs and people who build really cool roadside odd attractions. Then Jody Pendarvis is worth at least an interview. Okay, so there you go. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, just besides the UFO stuff. And Robert Zemeckis has signed on the History Channel. This is when you know it's cool again. The History Channel has okayed a Project Blue Book series, 10 installments, Project Blue Book. And this follows Dr. J. Allen Hynek and the case files. They're going to actually include the historical events, the things that are legit. And Zemeckis says this is the first time he's been associated with something that's a perfect fusion of historical fact and extraordinary entertainment. So he's one of the rare times he's been associated with it. So he's excited. I think I am too. Blue Book, inspired by all that fun and really, really amazing stuff that people still are trying to say, no, it didn't happen. Yes, it did. It's all this debate. And I tell you what, even with some of the movies that have come out, like The Experience, the Phoenix Lights Experience, if you have seen it, then somebody else telling you it doesn't exist or it was a figment of your imagination who wasn't there, it really doesn't hold any weight because it changes everything. So that's why I do these shows and why I talk to all these people who've had these experiences. They're not talking about whether they think it's real or not. They're talking about this happened to me, and that's what makes it so fantastic. So those kinds of things more people are talking about, and I've got some good guests coming up about that too. The blog I posted, I Want to Believe, Fox Mulder. Yeah, that's it. I want to believe. Well, that's okay. When you've had an experience, there's no want, there's no doubt. There's like, oh my gosh. And again, they're continuing to follow Robert Bigelow, and he's the multimillionaire who's helping out with trying to get us into space and building this incredible the technical equipment that he's contributing. Not only that, the millions he's already funded by trying to figure out whether UFOs are real and where they are, where they go, what all, would have, I think, been inspired by the sighting he had or his grandparents had when he was a kid. So for him, it was already kind of a reality in his life. And this stuff doesn't, the debate is just completely superfluous. Who cares? So the other thing I put on the blog, the people who have sighted UFOs or had an encounter and are famous, so that might help. If it helps, to have a little bit more support. One of the biggest icebergs ever is just in the making. It may have already happened. It's going to happen any moment, according to The Guardian and scientists who are watching this. And this is that huge, huge crack. I guess they've got a bunch of drones going over it in the Antarctic and attributed to global warming. This is the one thing I think is really cute. And I'll have to post a picture because I can't translate it. But there was a guy in Texas who had these lovely little flag displays for the 4th and for Memorial Day and all that. They're all decked out in flags, and they disappeared. He was just like, who? Yeah, who took it? He found the squirrel. Apparently the squirrel thought they were just perfect for decorations, and so the squirrel has really lined the nest with the flags for his or her nest. And okay, so it's a visual. Sorry. My guest does dream interpretations. JM DeBord is Reddit's dream interpreter. And you can, if you want your dream interpreted, probably easier to do that than to try and connect here. So we're going to talk with Jason, JM DeBord, about dream interpretations and what your dreams mean or don't mean and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Yeah, right. Oops. Coming up. Next, Wendy's Coffee House. I wanted something perky. There's too much negative news, yeah. Dreaming. Uh-huh. All right, my guest is multi-talented. If you've done the Reddit dream thing, he's the Reddit dream interpreter, okay? So JM DeBord, Jason DeBord, also has a book on dreams, and it's the Dream Interpretation Dictionary. So with that, we've got symbols, signs, and meanings, and all sorts of stuff dream-related. And so the deal is that if you're, if you've had dream dictionary experience for years, or if you're just getting started, this is a dictionary that might be helpful one way or the other. It might be something new that you haven't heard before. And the other thing, too, is sometimes dreams can be precognitive. And the difference between a precognitive dream or a dream that involves somebody who is deceased, no longer living, those kind of dreams also filter into the equation. So that's the cool thing about this, that he's done quite a bit of work trying to sort through all of that stuff. And I was looking just before we get started here, I'm looking at the Reddit site, and it's just like, recent sites or recent questions and recent inquiries for getting a dream. Like one was 22 minutes ago. So just pretty recent, within the last hour. And then there's a time when you just you can go on and put your dream in, and he'll answer them back to back to back to back. We're trying to get him on the phone right now because our lines are at this point not cooperating. So anyway, the thing about the dreams is that when I started working with my own dreams years ago, I had a little bit of help with a few dream books out there. But the real helpful thing happened when I started realizing there was a pattern and there were themes, and sometimes I could figure them out. Occasionally there will be something that will stump me, and one was a vision. It wasn't a dream. So I thought, well, I'll ask Jason about this and see if he has a take on it, because the dreams I'm comfortable with, it's when there's little quirky things like visions that have a whole different element and sometimes are just baffling because it's a symbol of something. And so that's what the dream books have, the symbols. Hey, Jason, are you with me?
Yes, I am. Hello, Wendy.
Hi there. JM DeBord. I kind of alluded to all the stuff that you cover in your dream book and all that. I was looking at the Reddit site. Are you going to interpret dreams tonight on Reddit too?
Yes, I'm there as much as I can. I have less and less time these days. It's kind of a blessing and also a drawback, because Reddit is kind of where I started and I made a name for myself. And I really love being able to go in there and just talk to people about their dreams. It was really a training ground for me, and a place where I got comfortable doing this, going out in public and offering these interpretations. And you are interpreting somebody's dream. It doesn't mean that you're correct about it,
Yeah.
So, and you could be spectacularly wrong sometimes with it, but I was right enough of the time, or correct enough of the time, or at least was helpful enough that it really encouraged me, So I wrote the first book, and that led to more things. I wrote the second book, so I will be there tonight if I can.
Okay.
It's just less and less time these days for that.
All right. So the Dream Interpretation Dictionary, and I was saying that no matter where you are with your expertise, just beginning or you've had years, there's always something new to learn, and your book is offering that kind of insight for people who might be curious about how to get into interpreting their dreams.
And that's why I wrote it, or at least that's what I had in mind as I was writing it. Is I remember what it was like more than 20 years ago when I started interpreting dreams, my own dreams, and all I had were a few books from people like Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, and I would use the indexes. I would wake up and I'd have a dream, about a dog or something, so I'd look up dog in the index, and there'd be 5 entries, and I'd look them up in the books, and most of the time it had nothing to do with, the dream symbolism of a dog. So I was trying to remember what it was like for me when, in those early days, I wanted a convenient source where I could just look up dream symbolism, but I also wanted something that could help me to go into depth about it. Most dream dictionaries fall a little short with the depth part of it. They like to give you these snappy, sentence or two answers and say, well, this is definitely what this dream symbol means. And I go, actually, you need to be able to delve into the personal side of a dream symbol. So people who've done that a lot, people such as yourself, are, they won't pick up your average dream dictionary and get much out of it. But I tried to keep people like you in mind and offer enough depth and different ways of looking at a dream symbol and enough insights to the way that I interpret dreams that people could actually, who are experienced at it, could actually learn something new from my book.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm tickled because I factored into the equation without even knowing it, and that's really cool.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, I said before that I had the dreams I'm okay with, but there was a vision I had at one point, and I thought, well, okay, I'll throw this one at you just to give you something to sink your teeth into.
Okay.
I was doing work with a psychic reading, and this is a very well-known deceased psychic, and then I had a vision between dream and wake, where the psychic comes out of a car. He just stops out of a limo, a car. He walks straight up to me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is a spitting image of this guy. And he hands me 2 things. In one hand, he has a wrapped gift, a present with a little bow on it. And the other hand, it's a celery. You know where you cut it off, and it's the heart of a celery is right there, so it's ready to be planted to make a new. So that's it. The one hand has the present, the other hand has the stalk of celery, the heart, ready to be planted. So dream interpretation. How would that factor?
Well, I'm kind of wondering if sorry, I got distracted by the deceased well-known psychic, and I just joined Edgar Casey's ARE the other day and got my membership card. So I'm really wondering whether we have a synchronicity here. Okay, so the celery stalk and planting it really sounds like something new starting in your life, in yourself, something that can be reused in a way, like you're building atop something else, you're growing from a seed of some kind. Remind me again, what was the first thing that you saw in the dream?
The present. The present is in the other hand. He has two hands. One is the present with a little gift, and so you could either take it as literal as this is the present time, present tense, or a gift. And so that's the thing. It's wrapped with a bow, and then he hands them to me, and just with his little smile, I'm like, oh, thanks. Now I'm supposed to figure this out.
Wow. Well, the bow really makes it, and that's half the fun of it, is you get to chew on this stuff for a while. And the bow really makes me think that this is something that's being delivered to you, that it's coming deep from either the unconscious mind, from your higher guides. I kind of think it all rolls together into the same sort of general ball of wax, but that you are being given something, and it's almost, to me, an image like that is saying you can have the present, and this is the thing that you need to do to really bring it forth into you. It's almost like saying, think of it as like plant in the soil of your being, that there's something that will grow within you. So the celery is representing that, the celery stalk that can be planted and it'll start growing again. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, for me, that was that new birth, new growth, and the intention of planting something to give life, and then the present part of it was a gift.
Well, here's an interesting side note, Wendy. Is the imagination in your dreams? They use the same areas of your brain. They light up pretty much the same. So you can't say that the imagination is in one part of the brain. The imagination actually uses pretty much the entire brain. But there are certain centers, especially like the visual centers, that are very active while dreaming. And when you look at somebody who is using their imagination very, intensely, and you look at it under a brain scan, you'll see that the imagination and the dream they're using the same parts of the mind. So, to me, this is all working on a spectrum, whether it is a daydream, a night dream, a vision, the things that you see during guided meditations. These are all running on a spectrum. And so you can use, the point is that you can use this imagery, even if it comes to you, say, in a meditation, and approach it the same way as you would interpret a dream.
Well, see, I like the fact that you also try to distinguish, I've read some of your readings, between something that's a prophetic dream, something that is a connection between a deceased family person or, significant other, and then a dream. Because sometimes people can be confused and try and make it literal when it's just more, something that's a metaphor.
Yeah, and it tends to be the thing that some dream interpreters jump directly to you had a dream about your deceased relative. Isn't it great that the spirits of the deceased come to us? And then I read the person's, the dream that they're basing this advice or feedback on, and I go, wait, there's a lot of personal symbolism in this, and it really appears to me that the dream is actually dealing with something else other than visitation or spiritual contact, that it's actually a metaphor. It's basically trying to help the person who's lost this loved one to deal with that grief, to deal with that loss, to help their life to move forward, or to figure out why it's stuck, or just to heal. And I think that when you jump right to these spiritual explanations for a dream like that you can mislead people. And since I've had to delve into this to give advice to people, and I definitely do not want to give people false hope or false impressions, I really had to dig into this subject very deeply. And
Okay, hang
that
on.
was the conclusion I came up with, is most dreams are metaphorical, but some of them you can reach out and make contact.
All right,
Whether
Jason,
it's
hold
with
on.
other
We're going to
people
take a
here or
break.
there.
We got to do the news here and some commercials, and we're going to come back, and we're going to make you give us an example of somebody who is deceased connecting with someone in a dream. All right, you're listening to Wendy's Coffee House. JM DeBord is my dream interpreter, also the interpreter for Reddit. Stick around. We'll have him interpret stuff. Next, KCMO. What have you settled on?
You can usually see the metaphor or symbolism in a dream that's at work. And when you have a dream that is an actual contact, spiritual contact, a visitation dream, then there are a few things that you're going to note. First of all is the person who is on the other side is always shown healthy, happy, in their prime or close to their prime. Like, especially if they were very sick towards the end of their life, that tends to be the imagery that people dream about first when they're in the grieving process. And that's not the condition or state that they're in. So that's the first thing. Two is their messages are always full of love and care. They often have messages for either the dreamer or for family members, and there is something that is communicated that couldn't possibly be known otherwise. I've even had examples of there was a family member who came to someone in a dream and said another one of our mutual family members is going to find a snake in her shower, in her bathtub, warn her about it. Well, sure enough, the next morning she pulled back the shower curtain and there was a snake in her bathtub.
That's a good one.
What are the odds, right? So the messages are very positive. There's often information that is conveyed, or sometimes, I shouldn't say often, sometimes there's information that's conveyed that couldn't be known to the dreamer otherwise. And the person has an agenda. They're not just there to hang out, although after a while, if you keep a regular communication open to the other side, you can have them just drop by for visits. But usually the first visit or two or three, there is going to be an agenda there. And it's often of, look, don't worry about me, I'm okay. I need you to go on with your life. So those are the main things that you look for. You also look into the person's eyes while you're dreaming. And a dream character is like a robot that has been programmed, or an actor that's on a stage. They're following a script. And if you look very closely into a dream character's eyes that's just programmed, then, or you say something to them that goes off of script, or you start asking pointed questions, then the whole scene can start to get unstable and just kind of fall apart. So if you are in a dream and you see somebody who was a deceased loved one, you can start talking to them and asking them very close questions, and they will, if you look them in the eyes, you can actually see and feel the actual person. Otherwise, what you'll start to see is that this is a costume, that this is a dream character. The dream character is wearing a costume that looks like my deceased loved one, and I want them to, or I'm going to understand that the dream is metaphorical, it's symbolic, it's not actual spiritual visitation.
Okay, so part of that you're talking about is lucid dreaming.
You can become aware while you're dreaming, or you can program your mind to be able to respond that way when you do see the person in the dream. There are some people who it never happens. There's an emotional balance that has to be inside of you before you can have this visitation with somebody, the spirit of somebody in the other side, whether it's in a dream or it's, otherwise in a vision or a seance or whatever you want to, that you have to be emotionally balanced before that person you're able to, otherwise there's too much static in the line, and you're not going to be able to communicate with them.
It's obvious that you really enjoy what you're doing. When did you figure this out, that this was something that really you were good at?
I really caught fire with it. I mean, the subject itself really caught on with me right away. I started studying Carl Jung when I was in college. I had heard of him, but I started running across his writings in other ways that it just resonated with me. So and then at the same time, around the same time, I met a mentor who started guiding me towards my dreams as going to help to provide the answers for my life that I was looking for. And so it really caught on with me right away. But as far as the ability to be able to interpret dreams and go out publicly with it, it really started around almost 10 years ago when I met my wife. She was in a transition in her life. We were both in transitions in our lives. And she was having these really extraordinary and powerful dreams. And it kind of provided the first bonding between us. It gave us something to talk about that was both very interesting to us. And I saw this symbolism and things that work in her dreams, and I would just kind of propose things to her. And well, this is what this could mean. This is what that could mean. This is the significance of this part of the dream. Well, it worked, and she's very smart, and she's kind of a show me kind of person, and it convinced me, since I was able to help her, that I might have something here. So then I went to Reddit, and I started interpreting dreams there, just giving feedback on dreams, and I got extraordinary response from it, and it told me that I had something special that I could offer, because I can explain the subject very simply yet thoroughly, and I like to use a lot of examples and anecdotes and stuff like that. So I found that people can learn from me in a way. I'm teaching in the same thing that, say, someone like a Carl Jung or another dream, teacher could teach them, but I'm stripping the language down, and I'm taking out the jargon, and I'm trying to always present it to them in a way that it's going to make it very practical and real to themselves, rather than just, dreams are these obscure things that you don't have a chance of understanding. And I go, no, anyone can understand their dreams. It's just, it needs to be explained to you in a way that it, the light bulb goes on over top of the head. Are
there some universal symbols?
Well, there are archetypal symbols, which archetypal and universal are kind of tossed back and forth. There is no universal meaning to any symbol. Symbols are always personalized. Now, you can have, group associations with symbols. They are things that within a group of people that they're understood as meaning the same thing among all of the people in the group. It's not to say that it's the only thing that it can mean. Like if you dream about a snake, this is a very common dream symbol, and it ranges from, on the one side, snakes can represent, fear or something that is venomous, that's poisoning you from the inside, a situation like stress that's just killing you. It can represent something, if a snake wraps around you, it can be a constricting situation. But then it goes all the way over to the other side, where if you talk to a group of, say, Native Americans, they'll say, no, a snake in our dreams is almost always a great sign. And we use, it's a sign that there's going to be, a fertile crop this year, or the mother goddess is looking out for us, that nature is connected with us, that we're connected in with the deep inner wisdom of us, because snakes are close to the ground. So
wisdom
it runs a spectrum. There are no universal symbols, but there are general ways of approaching it that work all within one group.
I'm looking at the Reddit site right now. Is this 31,685 dreamers, subscribers, or dreams you've interpreted?
The way that Reddit works is, so if you go to dreams.reddit.com, and that's REDDIT for your listeners, then it takes you directly to the Dreams Forum. And the 31,000 number that you see are the number of people who have decided to click that little button that says subscribe.
All right.
And what it means is that on their front page of their Reddit, if they just go to reddit.com, they will have certain subreddits, such as the Dream subreddit, that will feed the information in directly to them. So the posts that come into Dreams are more likely to get in front of their eyes. Now, you can go there directly, and you can look at all the dreams that are submitted there, and you can, talk to people. It's a weekend, so there are less of the people who do the interpreting. There are less of them there, so you probably see that there's not a lot of commenting going on. And it's unfortunate that, there aren't more dream interpreters out there who hang out at Reddit. Most of the ones that I've recruited into the fold are people who can come in during the week and, offer their perspective. So 31,000, there's not that many who are actively involved in the sub, but we do get some pretty big numbers there. I think somewhere around 40,000 unique views a month.
That's pretty fascinating, just that, there's that much interest, which says what you're doing is right on target.
Well, I've been working there for a long time. I say work. It's a volunteer thing, but I've been working at this for a long time, Wendy, and it just caught fire with me. Reddit is a younger crowd, and these generations are not getting good information about dreams for the most part. They are not catching it even in their psychology classes. What they get is the idea that there is still a debate about whether dreams are meaningful, and if you try to do it on your own, you're probably not going to be right. Or they're searching Google. I get this all the time. They're like, well, Google says that a dream about a snake means, and I come in and I go, no, look, if you're going to interpret your dreams, let's do it right, okay? You need to understand that the dream is a story, and you start there, and you start analyzing the story, and you look at the things that are present in the story. Look at the setting. What does the setting say about a story? If it's a library, it can say, oh, I'm looking for knowledge or information. If it's a school, it can say, well, I'm learning something, or I need to learn something. If it's a public arena, it can say, this is related to my public life. So you start there and you go, okay, well, what's happening in the dream? What are the actions? What does that say symbolically? Who's with you? What are the characters that are there? So that's the way that you do it. And what I've been trying to do at Reddit is to teach people how it's done. And I do it directly one-to-one, but I'm also aware that there will be most likely hundreds and eventually thousands of people who will run across those interactions, each of those interactions that I have. And they're going to look at that and they're going to gain a little bit of information from it. And hopefully it helps to put it all together. And it spreads this knowledge of dream interpretation because the people are really a lot of conflicting sources of information and a lot of bad sources of information. So I'm really trying to do my part to bring good information in a very public sort of way.
We have to take a break here real quick, but I want to ask you a question. I remember one of the things I heard when I was younger was that if you ever fall in a dream and this happens to you and you hit, you're going to die. So don't answer just yet, okay? We're talking with JM DeBord, and the book is The Dream Interpretation Dictionary. Okay, you can check that out. You can also check out his website, dreams123.net, but we're going to come back and make him answer that question. How's that? When I was a kid, I heard from, various sources, of course, reliable information, that if you ever had a dream of falling and you hit, then that was it. You would die in the dream and you just wouldn't wake up. Okay, that was really annoying because that's not true. At least I had that experience, and it was just like I went right through it. Just went right through it. Of course, I woke up like, whoa. So are there dreams that you've heard, that people are really afraid to have the dreams because people have done things like that to set them up for fear problems?
Quite often, yes. If you hit the ground, you will die, or just in general, if you die in a dream, you will die for real. These myths have been perpetuated by, TV shows and movies and just, mouth-to-mouth rumor, that kind of stuff. You can probably even Google it and find a few websites that will say, well, hey, if you hit the ground when you're falling, then your body will react by having, a heart attack or something like that. And, well, I experienced that, Wendy. I had the dream where I fell and I hit the ground. Okay. And I woke up. I know, it was really scary. And at the time, I had just started dream work. And I was very new. I was just a baby when it comes to this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I was falling through a black space, and I hit really hard on my left shoulder, and then I woke up. And my shoulder, it felt like somebody had taken a baseball bat to my shoulder.
Uh-huh.
Like, it hurt. And what I found was that the imagery, at least looking back, I didn't know at the time what it meant, but looking back on it, I made some major changes in my life after that. And you could say that I had hit bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So once again, there's the metaphor at work. It's right there. If you look at it, if you step back and look at what does this action mean? What's the metaphor in here? You fall, you fall, you fall. Well, what does that mean? Well, it could mean that you are in a fallen state of being. The ground beneath your feet is gone. You have nothing stable to stand on personally, emotionally, psychologically. It can mean you're between places, But in my dream, it was a very dark place. I just knew I was falling, and it was so realistic in the dream. It feels like you can feel the acceleration.
Yeah.
You know eventually that the ground has got to hit. And it was funny. Wendy, it was a recurring dream.
Oh.
I had had that dream so many times, and I never hit the bottom. And then I finally hit the bottom, and I woke up, and that was the time. I was like, yep, today's the day that I quit drinking. Today's the day that I turn my life around. Today's the day I start, getting my mind back together and my life back together, and let's go forward. But it wasn't, conscious yet.
No,
it's just there was an energy there.
That was your subconscious trying
to
give you a kick in the tush to change your life. Now, when you brought that up and said some of the circumstances, then absolutely clear. You had to hit rock bottom, and that was your way of doing the breakthrough of it's now or never. Yeah, absolutely. I was in a spiral, and I was really looking for something, and that's when I found dream work. I had just started to see my mentor, and he's a therapist, a counselor, who's trained in Jungian techniques and a bunch of others. But really, it's very personal. It's he's a teacher. And he took me under his wing. He's an elder, a father figure, and I was just spinning, man. I mean, so you flush the toilet and watch it go down, man. That was my life, and I knew I needed help, so I went and I saw him. I found him. It was very synchronous, and it was soon after when we started working together that I had that dream, and I felt like I could make the decisions that I needed to make to change my life. And, it started in the dream work. And, Wendy, it's part of why I do what I do is because I'm giving something back, because my life could have very easily been over, either in a physical, very, 6 feet in the ground sort of sense, but also just in the going nowhere, and we'll never gain traction, and we'll never do the thing that I felt like was deep inside of me that I was being called to do, that there was more to what I was looking for in my life. And, hey, I got to hand it over to, my mentor, Larry Pesavento, and the other people who helped me, and Carl Jung, who helped me to understand dreams and the psychology of spirit, and, put things into a language that really resonated with me, and it really, changed. So that's part of the reason. It goes back to why I'm on Reddit on most days, is because I feel like I'm able to give something back to people. And there have been a lot of people who I have found who have ended up in my space at Reddit and have said, I'm lost. This is what my dreams are telling me. Help me. And then I'm there as much as I possibly can be. I will tell you now, this is what happened in terms of it makes a difference what psychic appears to you in the dream. The Alex Tanis was the psychic who came to me. And if you do a Google search, find out he has an impressive mustache. And he was also reported to be reported to be psychic when he was 18 months old. So from the time he was a small child, they knew that he had these gifts. And there's a foundation where he continues. They want to keep doing research with people who have psychic abilities and that kind of stuff, and dreams and all that. But it was just so funny because this is the person who showed up in this vision, giving me those two gifts. And that's why I'm like, okay, it had to do with those abilities and that kind of thing. And it was probably going to take a little more, attention to detail. And that, but I thought, when you were mentioning Edgar Cayce, there was a 30 or 40 years ago when I had a dream about Edgar Cayce. I saw the picture and wasn't sure who it was. He was sitting at a checkerboard table, and I was told in the dream, well, he was a psychic, and I needed to look him up. In the dream, they're telling me, look this guy up. And I found that picture, this almost like an iconic picture of him looking, there's a profile where he's at this checkerboard tablecloth, and I'm like, oh, and I figured out who he was. So the Edgar Cayce connection there is also part of it, the sleeping prophet, that's what he goes by. So that also has to do with dreams and visions and connections like that. And I think, you're in the right place at the right time. People are looking for other ways to interpret their own information, and dreams are that insight that comes directly from you with a little bit of help from, should I say Jason or JM?
You can either way. It's okay. JM is what's on my book, and Jason, that's who I am. So
right.
Let's just go with Jason.
Okay, good. Okay, just Jason. All right, we're going to have to get out of here. Is there anything you'd like to add before we've got a minute?
Well, you've already told listeners about my blog at dreams123.net. I'm at Interpret Dreams, one word. If you go to Facebook, there's a lot of content there. I'm at Reddit, dreams.reddit.com. My new book is out, The Dream Interpretation Dictionary, Symbols, Signs, and Meaning. It's 3 books in one. It gives you everything you need to know to start off with your dreams and help and start interpreting them. And, you know, really, Wendy, this is the best thing that a person can do for themselves. I mean, you are living testimony for this. I know so many people who they look back and they go, where was the turning point in my life? And it was when I got involved in my dreams, and my dreams led me to that deeper place within me where my potential was stored, and it showed me how to tap it.
JM DeBord, you can check him out. Dreams, connect with yourself. And tonight, guess what? You're going to have sweet dreams. Thanks for listening. See ya. This was live, local station, recorded on a live show, JM DeBord, Dream Interpretation. Thanks for listening.